The math test. It's your favorite, right? Now, whether it is your favorite or maybe your least favorite, either way, you definitely have got to practice those problems. And in this video here, that is exactly what we are going to do. I'm going to take a math test with you that will prepare you for either the HiSET, GED, or TASC test. Welcome to Purely Persistent. I'm Michelle. You guys have loved the whole series that I've done on Take a Test with Me. So be sure to check out some of these other videos if you haven't already. Now, before we get started here, I have 5 tips that I want you to remember when you are taking the math test. First, read those word problems closely. Oh my goodness, most of the problems will be word problems, and you just have to read them slowly, break them down, and you can do it. I really believe that you can. Next, you have to have a foundation of math, okay? Now, about 40 to 50% of this test is algebra. But if you don't have your basics down, then it will be really difficult and really challenging for you to be able to do this. So make sure you have your foundations of math ready before you can do these more complex problems. Know the calculator. Oh my goodness, the calculator is like your best friend during the math test. And in this video, we're going over some fractions. And if you know how to use your calculator efficiently, it will help you so much while you are taking the test. Now, give this video here a thumbs up if you would like me to do a calculator tutorial. Next, don't focus on the hard problems. There are going to be some problems that you have no clue how to do, and that's okay. When you arrive on problems like this, take a look at it, answer it if you can, and then just guess, okay? And finally, believe in yourself. You have got to believe in yourself. I believe in you. But math anxiety is a huge thing. And if you are anxious about this test, then you're not going to be able to reach the outer portion of your brain that has all the smarts. So be sure that you stick until the end of the video here, because there are a lot of problems that we are going to be going over together. So let's get started. So we are taking a HiSET free practice test. However, if you are studying for the GED or the TASC, this will work just as well for the test that you're taking. Now, one thing to remember is the formula sheet. You'll be provided with a formula sheet on the test, so make sure that you are quite familiar with it. Each side of rectangle A is 5 times as long as each corresponding side of rectangle B. The area of rectangle B is how many times the area of rectangle B? Okay, so we're going to have to draw some pictures. So here we have rectangle B, and a rectangle A is a lot bigger, right? So we're going to make up some numbers, okay? Sometimes when you're given something like this, you need to make up the numbers. Now, I tend to not prefer using the number 1, just because it can give a few issues, especially if you have to square it or something like that. So I like to stick with like 2s and 3s. So let's say this side is 2 and this side is 3. So now if this side right here, it would be 2 times 5, right? Because it's 2 times bigger. So 2 times 5 is equal to 10. And this side down here is 3 times 5, which is equal to 15. So now we need to find the area. So we have rectangle B is, to find the area of a rectangle, we know it's length times width, right? So we just go 2 times 3, or width, or length times height, rather. 2 times 3 is 6. And A is 10 times 15, which is 150. So now what we're going to do is we have to figure out with the area, how much bigger is A than B? So you guys, it's just a simple little division, right? So we have 150 divided by 6, and you use your trusty calculator, and you get 25. So the answer is D, 25. So this means that rectangle A is 25 times bigger than rectangle B. Polygon A will be translated in a coordinate plane using the following rule. XY goes to x plus 3, y minus 1. The image will be named Polygon B. Oh my gosh, I have to just pause this. I just got a message from a student of mine that just passed the math test. She got an 11. She was so nervous and so scared about taking the math test. And literally right now, as I'm recording this video, she just passed the HiSET test with an 11. She was so nervous and so unsure that she was going to pass, and she did. Yay! Go Chelsea! So this should be inspiration for all of you. You can do this. You can pass the test, and I am just so thrilled for her. And I'm thrilled for you. We're going to celebrate you in just a little bit. But for now, let's keep focused and do this. Okay. The image will be named Polygon B. Which of the following describes the translation from Polygon A to Polygon B? All right. So basically, what is going on here is you have to think about like a little coordinate plane, right? So here we know that the y goes up and down and the x goes right and left, right? So here's the y and here's the x. So if the x is plus 3, let's just say we're going to start at 0. If the x is plus 3, we know that over here is the positive, right? And over here is the negative with the x's. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go to the right 3. Now the y says negative 4. Now we know that going up is positive and going down is negative. So this says negative 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and bring it over. So if it started right here and it ends right here, what is it doing? We can just look at this. So we're going down, right? So down and to the right. So we go this one here. So we're looking for down. So if it says up, we don't want up, we don't want up, we don't want up. So we've got down and down. And then it goes to the right. So that gets rid of C, which leaves us here with E. E is the answer. So to the right 3 units and 4 units down. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to 10a to the 6th over negative 2a cubed? All right, so basically we are just simplifying. Okay, so when we are multiplying, so basically, let me show you here. Let's start with the a's, okay? So we basically have a times a times a times a times a times a, that's 6, right? Over a times a, let's do it times a. Now when we're multiplying and we have ones like this, we can just cross these out. So here we've got 3 that we're crossing out down there and 3 up there. So now we're left with a cubed. Now let's look at the 10 and the 2. So I can simplify this, right? So 10 over 2 is just equal to 5, right? Now notice here that it's negative. Well, when we're dividing, and if 1 is a negative, it's going to stay a negative. So we have negative 5a cubed, and look, there it is. B is the answer. The sale price of a hat Tyler wants to buy is 20% off the regular price. One way to determine the sale price is for Tyler to... All right, so this is one in which you could make up numbers that actually you don't really need to. So let's just think for a second. When there's something for sale and you have percents, are you going to divide by the percent? So if my hat is $10 and it's 20% off, am I going to go 10 divided by 20% or 10 divided by 0.2? No, we're not doing any division at all when we have one like this, okay? So there we can just get rid of all of those ones that are dealing with dividing. Okay, let's look at A. So we want to know the sale price. So A, multiply the regular price by 20. All right, so his hat is $10, we're saying, and $10 times the 20% off is $2. Is his hat $2? Woohoo! No, it's not $2, right? That's how much he's saving. He's saving $2. So, it's not it. That leaves us with B. So multiply the regular price by 1, which is how much the actual price is, minus 0.2. Okay? And so that really just equals 80%. Okay, so he's paying 80%. And so with our $10 example, 10 times 80% is just $8. So his hat is $8. Now I have to tell you something. So even though B is the answer here, if I were to do a problem like this where they give us actual numbers, I don't tend to go 1 minus whatever the sale price is. Instead of doing that, figuring out what the sale price is and then subtracting it from the whole, basically I just take, so I would take 100% minus the 20%, which equals 80%. And so for me, instead of figuring out how much I'm saving, I just figure out how much the total is going to be, okay? And I hope this makes sense. It's just an easier way. It's one step less than having to actually figure out, this is how much he's saving, subtract that from the whole price. Instead, just figure out how much he's paying for it. A scientist found that the height of a mountain increased by approximately 5 times 10 to the negative 4 meters each month. Oh, it says month. If this rate of change continues, by how many meters will the height of the mountain increase in 1 year? Okay, so HiSET classifies this question as hard, but actually scientific notation is pretty straightforward in my opinion. So we need to take this number here, 5 times 10 to the negative 4, and let's turn it into a non-scientific notation number. So we're going to put a little 0 there, and I'm going to put 3 zeros, or a little point rather, and then the 5. So the 5 there is 4 little numbers to the right of the decimal. Now we're going to multiply that by 12. So I know that 12 times 5 is 60, right? And then 0, 0. And make sure that our point is 4 little points over. Okay, so now this 0 right here, this last little 0, we don't really care about him because we could put as many zeros as we want to the right of the decimal. So here, 0.006, but they want it in scientific notation. Okay, so what we can do is we can just move the decimal point over, kind of like we did with the 5. So I'm going to move it over 1, 2, 3. So now we have 6 times 10 to the, guess what it is? Negative 3, because I moved the decimal point over to the right 3 times. So the answer here is going to be A. Now, this is the type of thing, Maybe if there was going to be a question, a math question on the science test, it might be something kind of like this, okay, because it's scientific notation. It's used so much in science for really, really small things like maybe atoms or cells, that sort of thing. And it's also used if it's a positive, if it's a 10 to the 20th or something, a positive number, then it's like a really, really big thing. So think about space and that sort of thing, distance from the sun to another star, that sort of thing, okay? So scientific notation is definitely used a lot in science, but if you break it down like this, it's actually not so bad. The formula for the perimeter P of triangle is shown is P equals 2n plus B. Which formula is equivalent to the perimeter formula but is solved for n? Okay, so you look at the little triangle there, and it makes you want to think, oh, I'm dealing with the triangle. But actually, this image is not there to help, okay? It's just kind of there. So what we're going to do is this is just going to be some algebra. So we have P equals 2n plus B. So we're just going to solve for n, okay? So I like to draw a little line down, because whatever I do to one side, I always have to do to the other side, right? So let's get the B on the other side. So let's subtract B from both sides. And now I'm left with P minus B equals 2n. Now, I just want n, I don't want 2n. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And the 2 over 2 is going to cancel out and just be 1, right? So I'm left with P minus B over 2 equals n. And the answer here just has it swapped, but the answer here would be C. N equals P minus B over 2. The simple algebra. If you don't know how to do this, definitely make sure that you review algebra a little bit, but this principle is pretty straightforward if you've got your algebra down. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to this right here? Okay, so this is actually the division of a polynomial. But which of the following expressions is equivalent to this right here? So this is actually a division of polynomial. And remember, division is also equal to fractions, okay? So we're going to take the fraction approach to this. This is the type of problem that might be used in college algebra or pre-calculus, calculus, that sort of thing. Definitely going to be used in higher math. Now, if this question overwhelms you, bear with me, do it with me. But if you find yourself on a question like this and you're just completely stumped, follow a couple things that I'm doing and just guess and move on. Because remember, you only have to get half the questions right to pass the test. Okay, so there are two different approaches we can take with this. The first is to use FOIL and break it out. Okay, break the top part out. So we go x plus something times x plus something. And if one of those somethings is 1, then we can just cross off those x plus 1s and we will be left with either A or B. But that's actually not the answer. So I'm not going to take the time to go through that. So we're going to just cross off A and B. Now what we're going to do is C, D, and E. We're going to work the opposite way. Instead of taking the top part and going down, we are going to take each of the answers and go up and see if it ends up being the same sort of polynomial here. Okay, so let's start with C. So we have x plus 2 minus 1 over x plus 1. Now, like I said before, we're going to take this as a fraction, approach. Now we know when we're trying to add or subtract fractions, the bottom number or the denominator has to be the same. Is this the same? You can throw any expression or any number over 1 and was that the same? Is 1 the same thing as x plus 1? No. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to multiply the x plus 2 over 1 by x plus 1. Okay, so we'll just throw in a little parentheses so we know to multiply. So what we will do here is the bottom is just going, x plus 1, we're just multiplying. So the bottom is going to stay x plus 1. Now the top, what we're going to do is we are going to start off, we're going to take this x times this x, okay? And so we get x times x is x squared. Now what we are going to do, kind of change my colors here for you guys. We're going to take this x times the 2. So x times 2 is just going to be 2x. And let me get a different color. Now we're going to go 1 times x. So 1 times x is just x, right? So now we go plus x, or 1x. And then one more color here. Let's go purple. We have, take this 1 and multiply it by this 2. So we have 1 times 2 is just going to be equal to 2, okay? Let me get back to my blue here. All right, so let's actually simplify this, make it a little bit more streamlined. So we have x squared plus, now 2x plus x, or plus 1x, so 2 plus 1 is 3, right? So we have 3x plus 2 over x plus 1, and then subtract 1 over x plus 1. Now, I know that when I'm working with fractions and I'm adding or subtracting, the bottom number is just going to stay the same. So, x plus 1 is going to stay the same on the bottom. And now I have to look at these numbers here. And so I have the 2 minus the 1. So I'll write the other numbers. So 2x plus 3x, and then 2 minus 1 is just 1. Woo! That was a doozy. So here's the answer right here. Or rather, that's not the answer, that's the problem, right? Does this match the problem? Yes. Yes, it does. So the answer is going to be C. But like I said, this problem here, it's kind of intense. Definitely a lot of problems that go with it. If C wasn't the answer, it would have taken me a bit of time to go through every single one to answer this problem. So what I recommend you do is maybe spend just a minute on a problem like this, and if you don't get it, then mark an answer, give your best educated guess, and then make a note and come back to it at the end if you have time, okay? Definitely don't put too much time and effort onto a problem like this. The amount of hot cocoa powder, after that last one, we need to be reading about hot cocoa powder, right? I love hot cocoa. Okay, the amount of hot cocoa powder remaining in a can is 6 1/4 tablespoons. A single serving consists of 1 3/4 tablespoons of the powder. What is the total number of servings of powder remaining in the can? Okay, So basically, we are just dividing, okay? So we're taking 6 and 1/4 divided by 1 3/4. So what I recommend you do is use a calculator and use the fraction functions. Make sure you know how to use the fraction functions on your calculator and plug this in. You'll get the answer like that. But for this video, we're going to do it by hand, okay? So we need to turn these proper fractions into improper fractions in order to divide. So go 6 times 4 is 24. 24 plus 1 is 25. So we have 25 over 4 divided by 1 times 4 is 4. And then 4 plus 3 is 7 over 4. So now let's take it. So we keep, so 25 over 4. So we keep, then we change. We're going to change the sign to multiplying. And then we flip the other side. So 4 over 7. And we see if we can do any cross canceling. So we have 25 and 7. Is there any number that goes in at 25 and 7? No. Then we have 4 and 4. Oh, it's the same number. So we cross those out and we get 1. And then we have 25 times 1 is 25. 7 times 1 is 7. And now we're going to do a little bit of multiplying. And we have 7 goes into 25. So 7 goes into 25 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. We get a 4. So 3 is our whole number. We're going to keep the 7 on the bottom because the 7 was already on the bottom. And then we have 4 leftovers, which goes right here. So we have 3 4/7, which the answer is B. Like I said at the beginning, just do it on the calculator, okay? Learn how to do fractions on the calculator, and it would have taken you a fraction of the time to do this. Like, this is a timed test, so the calculator is your friend. Learn to use the calculator. Don't spend your time doing fractions by hand. A basket that contains 2 apples. So let's go 2 apples, 3 bananas, 6 oranges, 4 pears is in the workroom. When Ms. Hutchinson went to the workroom, the other co-workers had already taken 1 banana, so they're taking it away. So minus 1 banana, 2 oranges, and 1 pear. From the fruit remaining, okay, so let's just pause right here and get the fruit remaining. So we've got 2 apples, 3 bananas minus 1 banana is 2 bananas, 6 oranges minus 2 oranges is 4 oranges. 4 minus 1 is 3 pears. Okay, so from the remaining fruit, Ms. Hutchinson randomly took 3 pieces of fruit separately from the basket. If each fruit is likely to be chosen, what is the probability, oh, we're going over probability, that the third piece was an orange if the first 2 she took were also oranges? Okay, so that means we need to get rid of 2 more oranges. So 2 more oranges. So now we're left with 2 apples, 2 bananas, 2 oranges, and 3 pears. So what is the probability that the third piece was also an orange? Okay, so with probability, we need to calculate how many pieces of fruit we have. So 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So we have 9 pieces of fruit. right? And how many of those are oranges? 2. So 2 out of 9, 2 over 9, is the probability that she is going to choose oranges. Now, probability is definitely on the test. You might experience a couple questions on this. And so just sort of take it easy, practice the probability, and it's actually not so bad. On a trip to visit friends, a family drives 65 miles per hour for 208 miles of a trip. Okay, so 65 miles per hour for 208 miles of the trip. If the entire trip, okay, so the whole trip is 348 miles and it takes 6 hours, what was the average speed in miles per hour for the rest of the trip? Okay, so what I have to do is I have to take 348 minus 208, which I get 0, 4, so 140. Now, I have to figure out the 65 miles per hour and for 208 miles, I have to take 65 into 208, and I know we could do the long division, but let's just plug it in the calculator. So 65 divided by 208. Oops. Sometimes I enter it in wrong, and so if you get the wrong answer, just try it the other way. 208 goes into 65, 3.2. So 3.2 hours. Okay, so I have to go 6 hours minus 3.2 hours, which is 2.8 hours. So in 2.8 hours, they went 140 miles. So we have, sorry, my answers here are kind of all over the board here. So we have 140 over 2.8. And what do we get? 140 over 2.8. And we get 50 miles per hour. And yes, the answer is B. Which expression is equivalent to 6x squared plus 4x over 2x? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break it into 2 parts, okay? So I'm going to go 6x squared over 2x plus 4x over 2x, okay? So the 6x squared, I can get rid of the 6 and get rid of the 2, and I'm just left with 3 over 1. And I can get rid of this x down here, and I get rid of 1x on the bottom, I can get rid of 1x on the top. So that actually just, x squared is x and x, so I get rid of one of the x's, and I just have an x. Right, so I have 3x plus 4x and 2x. So that's essentially 4 and 2. So I can get rid of 2x out of each of them, and then I'm left with just 2. So we have 3x plus 2. So the answer is C. Which set of ordered pairs represents a function? Okay, so here we've got a line. Okay, so anything like this could equal a function, okay? And so the thing with a function is the x in the function cannot be repeated. And remember, this is x and this is y. So the x cannot be repeated. And so what you can actually do is a vertical line test. So let's say I draw a little line right here, I'm going to draw a little line right there. Nothing should cross over that vertical line twice, okay? Just once. So if I had something like that, would it pass the vertical line test? No, because it's right there and right there, okay? So basically what we're going to do on this one is we're going to look at our x, and remember, it's always x and y when we're plotting. So if our x repeats itself, then it's not the answer. So let's look at A. So we have -5, 4, and -5. So I'm just looking at the x's. Oh, we have a -5 and a -5. So that's not the answer. B, we have -1, -1, -1. Oh my gosh, it goes over 3 times. So that's not the answer. C, we have -3, 2, and -7. No repeats there, but let's keep going. D, we have 2, -2, -2, oh, -2, -2. Nope, nope, nope. And E, 2, 3, and 2. Oh, we've got 2 and 2. Nope, nope, nope. So the answer is going to be C. What is the value of x in the equation? So basically I have to take all those other numbers and put them all on one side to get rid of the x, or to solve for the x. So we have x minus 8 over 24 equals 3/4. So what we're going to do is we're going to just multiply both sides by 24, because remember, whatever we do to one side, we always have to do to the other. So let's multiply it by 24. I'll put it like that, times 24. So 24 divided by 24, so these cancel out. So over here, we're left with x minus 8 equals, and then, I could 3/4 and 24 just ends up being, I could go 4 goes into 24, 1 times 24 is 6, 6 times 3 is 18, but definitely use a calculator. Again, that little fraction button will be really helpful right here. Okay, and now I'm going to add 8 to both sides. Now notice if you subtract 8 to both sides, there's going to be an answer for that. But because this is a -8, I need to add 8. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So -8 plus 8 equals 0. So I'm just left with x equals 26. And there we go. C is the answer. Matthew's age, M, is 3 years more than twice Rita's age, R. Which equation shows the relationship between their ages? Okay, so notice here how all of them are M. Okay, so we're going to start with M. Oops, it's like a triple M there. Okay, so it says here 3 more years. So it's 3 more years. The 3 is not going to be attached to the R at all. So we can just add 3 more years. And then it says twice Rita's age. So if we're going to multiply, then we could go just 2R. So let's say Rita, let's just kind of check our work to make it kind of process in our brain. Let's say that Rita is 7. So Rita equals 7. So let's figure out how old Matthew is. So if Rita is 7, we go 2 times 7 plus 3. And 2 times 7 is 14. So 14 plus 3. And Matthew would be 17. So he is 2 times Rita plus 3. Okay? So the answer is going to be E. You did it. You stuck around till the end of the video. And so I want you to comment down below and tell me that you stuck around till the end. That's something to be really proud of because watching math is not everybody's favorite thing. So you should be proud of yourself for being super committed. Now, as always, make sure that you believe in yourself. I believe in you. And if no one has told you today, you are enough. And you are so important in this world. You will pass this math test. Just keep working at it and do your best. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video.